Okay, so can everyone see this?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is outdoor kitchen functional layout plans. Simple steps to avoiding common mistakes when designing a function into an outdoor kitchen. By myself, Scott Paterson. So yeah, really catchy title for this module. And the contents on this is the types of work areas and zones. We'll be covering recommendations for passing space, recommendation for counter space, the 4 main sizes of outdoor kitchens, the kitchen work triangle, the big 5 layout shapes for outdoor kitchens, working out landing areas, working out storage space, and working out seating space. So this is all about the layout and the first point for outdoor kitchen design, which will later move on into the build section. So this is really important to kind of get fact finding with yourself or with your clients on how you're going to use the space, what shape it's going to be, what the best use of that space is. So we'll just cover a bit more of that in a second. So this is the first section we're going to look at, is work areas and zones. So this is kind of the pro end of looking at designing an outdoor kitchen. These are just guidelines. As I said here, they're just recommended guides. It's not a rule. It's not the be all and end all. A lot of it is common sense. And you guys would probably already have a sense and a feeling, because you're into this, of what works and what doesn't. And if you don't worry. By the end of this, you should have a good idea. Especially with clients as well. This is kind of, the information here is kind of more to do with selling this into clients and going through a guideline with them and fact finding about what they want out of an outdoor kitchen. Make sure you get a good knowledge of the owner likes to cook, the types of cooking they'll be doing, find out how many people will be entertained. All this information should be gathered before the design stage. So yeah, you just want to get as much information as you can from your clients. And if it's you and you're doing it as a DIY, you already know this information. So make a big list of your wants and must-haves. Okay. What's your cooking style? So that's me. That's my cooking style. I love it. I'm not a big gas barbecue fan, and this is at a friend's party. I was just cooking here, but that's what I love. How I love to cook. So you know, each person is going to be individual. You're going to be an individual, and what you want out of your outdoor kitchen style and how you cook, it's very self-explanatory. But you know, is it gas, charcoal, or both? Do you or your client want a wood-fired oven? Do you want it Argentinian style? Do you want planchas, hot plates, braais, fireplaces? Do you have lots of guests, or is it just going to be like you and your small family? So that's thinking about space-wise and the flow of traffic of people coming through. Do you like lots of drinks? Are you a party animal? It's quite a common one lately. I seem to get a lot of the party animals. They just want a bar. Give me a bar. I want a big bar near the pool. So we've got quite a lot of those at the moment. So that's this is basically my foundation questions for my client. It's just find out how they like to barbecue, how they like to party, and what their aspirations are for the area. It's quite simple, but it's easy to overlook. Sometimes you just jump in with, I jump in with the technical stuff because I really like the types of grills and all that kind of thing. But you want to take a step back and just get the overall picture of what it is they're trying to achieve. And some people are very easy to get that out of. Some people, it will take a long time to pull that information out of them because they're just not very visual, or it's just something that, they've not really taken much time to think about. So really quiz your clients and yourself on what it is you want out of this outdoor kitchen area. So we've got 4 functional zones. You've got hot zones, cold zones, wet zones, and dry zones. So they're what make up an outdoor kitchen zone. There we go. So hot zones. And in these pictures here, a lot of these pictures are my outdoor kitchen designs and builds, what I've done over the years. So they're not stock pictures, they're actual real things. Hot zones, the main grill units and smokers, burners, hobs, planchas, tappanyakis, wood-fired ovens, any area incorporating a hot cooking appliance. Pretty self-explanatory, really. It's the most important area. For obvious reasons, it's what we want to cook with. So, that this dictates a very big part of the outdoor kitchen. So that's your hot zone. Cold zones, another really popular area. It's where the party's at. It's it's where all the guests kind of gather round. So that's where things where refrigerators are, freezers, wine chillers, drinks, bars, etc. So there really is a plethora of different appliances now that are available for outdoor kitchens. When I first started, it's not that long ago, 5 years ish. It was quite limited and kind of just could get what appliances were available from America. And now there just seems to be every day a new company making outdoor kitchen appliances for the UK, and the types of appliances are changing all the time. I've done outdoor dishwashers for people. There's all kinds of IP rated appliances now that you'd expect that would only be working on the indoors that can be available for outdoors. So cold zones are a very important one. They're the drink, booze, and party zones. Wet zones. Sinks and taps, bar caddies, ice reservoirs, beverage tubs and buckets. They need a bit of consideration basically for plumbing, and they do take up quite a lot of surface space as well, and they need quite a lot of landing zone around them, because something we'll go into a little bit later about landing zones, but that often gets overlooked. It's thinking about all the gear, and then you don't put any space for it to actually be utilised around it. So that's very important. But wet zones are where the sinks, taps, bar caddies, ice buckets, that kind of thing go. Dry zones. This is the next zone. So they're, in my mind, they're the ones that get overlooked and left in the dark quite a lot. They're the prep areas. They're your countertops, cabinets, drawers, log storage. These are all the kind of things that get chipped away when it gets down to budget, which is a shame, because when you're spending a lot of money, I mean, outdoor kitchens, we'll talk a little bit more later on about pricing, maybe in the next module. But you're going to be spending over £10,000 for an average customer for an outdoor kitchen. And if you're looking to build one DIY, it will come in cheaper, but you're still going to be spending a considerable amount of money to do it yourself. And it's just expensive materials that last a long time. And these dry zones generally get shrunk back. But I really recommend, if you're going to go for it, you might as well just put in as much as you can with the budget you have, because they make the difference. So kitchen size and zone usage. So this is kind of giving you an idea for each of these zones, what kind of size outdoor kitchen, how many zones you can have in one. This is not a hard and fast rule, but it just gives you an idea. So a small outdoor kitchen won't need as many zones. A medium-sized kitchen may require only 2 to 3 of those zones, and a large kitchen obviously will have all 4. Whatever the size, one of the most common mistakes is not incorporating any dry zones, as I've just talked about. Failure to create dry zones means you will have insufficient space for landing cooked food, preparing raw foods, with ease of accessibility, storage, and essential utensils. So, basically that means better to scale up than down. As I just said, it's much better to increase the size than diminish it. If your customers just shelled out for an outdoor kitchen, they don't want to have to put food on the floor when they're cooking because they haven't any prep space when serving. Again, it's very overlooked a lot of the time. Also get a lot of clients come to me and say, look, I want an outdoor kitchen. I want, big green egg. I want 2 grills, a pizza oven, tons of storage and a fridge, and I've only got 2 meters in space. You just, with the best will in the world, there's anything below 2 meters is not worth doing. An average grill is around about 1 meter in size. So get a trolley barbecue. Okay, we've got the space, workflow and motion. So this is something you've got to consider. Look at the relationship between the different zones, the workflow, how you or your clients are going to be working between the different appliances. Where's your major footfall? Where's your traffic going to be? Especially if you've got other things in the garden, like you've got the exit for a door and you've got people who are going to be going through that area and might be getting to the garage. If there's a party on, how's that going to work? So these are all things that we need to consider before we get down to the main design stage. Passing space. So we've got parallel aisles. Basically, this is a rule of thumb. You don't have to stick to it. But if there's a single chef or cook allow 120 centimeters of space, between two aisles, essentially. If you can have a couple more cooks, a bit more, 140 centimetres. Counter space. As we said before, the dry zone and especially counter space is the area that gets overlooked the most. Often, I can't even say it, is it? It's vital to the success of the overall function of the design. This counter space can be broken down into 4 general categories. So the 4 general sizes of outdoor kitchens. You've got mini, small, medium and large. It's fairly self-explanatory, this bit. So a mini size, this is not talking about the overall size of the unit itself, but it needs to be at least a metre of usable space, and no less than 600 mil deep. You'll find with the depth of outdoor kitchens, they're generally a lot deeper than an internal kitchen top, because grills and barbecue appliances are much deeper than standard cooktops in interior world. So you'll find you'll always be shelling out a lot more on work surface because it needs to be deeper and bigger. But yeah, we're talking about the space utilised at the top here. So you need at least a metre for a mini one. Small size, again, we're scaling up to about 1.25 metres. And that's kind of the entry level size for most people who are looking for a low budget outdoor kitchen. It's something a bit bigger, a medium size. Now, quite often classed in a medium, and again, rule of thumb, but you're looking at around about 2 metres of work surface in between all your appliances. And you quite often will have sinks, bars, refrigerators, that kind of thing. And then this is like one of the big beasts. This is a super luxury install. Did a few years ago, worked on a project, and they just had everything. So you need at least 4 metres of usable countertop. Again, it's just a rule of thumb. So I don't know if you've come across on an interior kitchen design, they talk a lot about the work triangle or the kitchen work triangle, and it's essentially is the flow of work between the appliances, the main appliances. And with an outdoor kitchen, it's still worth bearing this in mind. So I'm just going to read this out to you. So the kitchen work triangle is a concept used to determine efficient kitchen layouts. The primary task in a home kitchen, the primary tasks in a home kitchen are carried out between the cooktop, the sink and the refrigerator. These 3 points and the imaginary lines between them make up what kitchen experts call the work triangle. That's what kitchen experts call it. Okay, so the idea is that when these 3 elements are in close but not too close proximity to one another, the kitchen will be easy and efficient to use, cutting down on wasted steps. So yeah, if you've ever been in a kitchen that's horribly designed and you end up just flying backwards and forwards and you feel knackered by the end of the cooking a simple meal, you know the work triangle's off. And there are exceptions to this rule, like straight run kitchens. You know, it's impossible to achieve that. So here are the big 5 layout shapes. Now this is probably the main meat of this section. So you've got the big 5. You've got straight run, galley or parallel, L shape, U shape and G shape. Is everyone still with me at the minute? If you want to just chime in and let me know if you're still there.
That's going well, thank you.
Yeah? Good. Okay.
Yep, all good.
Just yeah. Am I going too fast for anyone, or is that okay?
Yeah, fine.
Thank you.
No problem. Right. Let's get into the big 5 then. Straight run. Okay, so this is the most simple one. This is the one you're going to come across most often, especially for people on a budget. It's pros and cons of it. Most space saving. You know, it's simple. It's up against the wall normally, but you can often have them out as an island. Problem with them, least efficient layout. It requires the cook to walk from one end to the other, and that's talking about that work triangle. The work triangle's out of the window on a straight run. Then you've got galley or parallel layout. So this includes all amenities and appliances, usually additional seating, split bars and islands. Over 6 metre total run. Sounds a lot, but when it's split into 2 islands, it actually looks quite small. You get pros of it. You've got 4 metres of usable countertop. Frontage recommended. Do you know what? I don't really know why I've written that. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But I think I'm saying there, the great thing about a galley is that you get a lot of countertop space. And it's nice that you can work between the 2 sections as well, going back to that work triangle. So it's, yeah, and you see down here, it's a good kitchen for customers who entertain more regularly, and you get quite a lot of people. They can gather around this section, and you can keep working over here and feed them and pass them all their drinks and everything over the top. L shape. This is probably the one I do most for clients. It's mainly because I like it, because you can get an appliance in the corner, especially a big appliance like a wood-fired oven, or I've been doing big green eggs lately, and Kamado ovens in a corner plinth. But the pros of them, they're very flexible design, allowing appliances to be placed in a variety of locations. Efficient work triangle area, because you can ping from one section with minimal footsteps all around the kitchen, so you could generally stay in this area. Ideal for large families and entertaining, as it can open up to a table or nearby room, making it easy for the cook to interact with guests. And this is a big one. Quite often forget about the poor cook. A lot of these people buy these for themselves because they love cooking, and then they've got their back to everyone, or they don't see anyone all evening when they're cooking. And you want to make it as entertaining and as fun for the cook as much as the guests. So just always bear that in mind. And yeah, like I said, it's great space for wood-fired ovens. Downside, it's not well suited for small spaces. You've got to have a lot of space for an L shape. They generally are quite space hungry, and that's because of that corner. Then you've got a bigger layout essentially. So the U shape, it's another versatile layout using joined carcasses. The workstations can be spaced throughout to provide convenience and efficiency. And abundance of countertop storage. A dead-end design does not interrupt workspaces, and the layout is ideal for people who cook and entertain frequently. So if you imagine over here, the cook can stand in, especially good for having this as a separate island. And if you've got a real flamboyant cook, or somebody who likes to entertain with a lot of people and show off, and they can be in the middle of it all with all the guests on the outside. It's very good for those kinds of people who are into that. Not ideal for accommodating multiple cooks and chefs. That's because they can bump into each other, quite often get in the way of each other in a U shape. Then you've got G shape. You've got to have Snoop if you're doing a G shape. So G shape or U shape is similar to the U shape kitchen. You've just got this bit on the end. Generally it's an extra carcass or an extra return or breakfast bar. The great thing about it is that you can have this return. It kind of makes a great landing space, especially if you've got a really large garden and people who entertain for a lot of people, and they can drop empty glasses, drinks, things. This is kind of a serving station on the end of the G. And again, all the pros and cons of a U shape, but it can accommodate multiple cooks because you generally make this section deeper. Landing areas. So not enough landing space is the most common outdoor kitchen mistake. We talked about this before. And I thought, just to illustrate it, it can end up like this. We don't want that. So again, this is just recommendations. So this kind of shows you what happens a lot of the time, again, with budget busters, and you'll come across some of those if you're looking to do this. Sorry, I'm just going to take a little sip. If you're looking to do this professionally, you'll get a lot of people who are not aware of the design, and they're just trying to bring the budget down. And you might even be working with other parties who are part of a build who are not interested in the design, and they're going to try and just keep the price down. They've been employed to do that, like the charter surveyors, that kind of thing. So you've got to be careful that you don't have your design chopped down just to cut costs, because at the end of the day, when the client comes to use it, they're not going to be able to put things anywhere. And the same if you're doing this for yourself, just save up for a bit extra worktop. So in addition to the general principle of allowing enough counter space overall, it's very important to provide decent landing space around the major appliances and features. Allow space for resting pots, pans, plates, utensils, chopping boards, serving boards. There's nothing worse if you've done a barbecue before and then you've just run out of space and friends are coming around, they're bringing they're bringing bags of food, and it just all turns into a massive mess on a tiny little section of table that you've got. It's a nightmare. This is what we're trying to get rid of with an outdoor kitchen. We're trying to bring that function back in. It's a luxury item. So again, this is just rule of thumb, and this all looks very specific, but it just gives you an idea. Give yourself some space. So if you've got a big barbecue unit or grill, you want to give around 60 centimetres to the right, 30 to the left. Same with a side burner, 30 centimetres 30 centimetres each side is good. And then, this is a mixture of the two. Again, it's pretty much common sense. Just give yourself plenty of space for pots and pans and landing stuff. With a sink, you need quite a bit of space either side, because you find you'll have things that needs washing up, you'll have food that needs cleaning, you'll have all kinds of things. So you need to give quite a bit of space either side for a sink. Going pizza ovens, wood-fired ovens, those kinds of appliances, they're very space hungry, and people quite often forget you need somewhere to, if you're looking to do pizzas, you need a good patch to work your dough, to make your toppings and stick everything on, and then you'll utilise your pizza paddle, land that, get that in the oven, get it back out. I see it so many times. You'll see loads of pictures on lovely magazines and things, and you go, where are you gonna make anything? You've got no room. You're just going to walk from the kitchen indoors out to your pizza oven and walk all the way back again. It's ridiculous. So make sure you've got plenty of workspace. And again, if you're doing beer pumps, taps, love a beer pump, they need space too. Fridges are great because they force you, we'll get onto that later on in the design elements, but they force you to keep space because you can't have anything cut into the countertop because you've got a fridge below it. So they force you to keep some good work surface. Storage space. You'll find that outdoor kitchens need less storage space than their interior cousins. It's generally the stuff that you want to just keep outside for barbecuing, wood, logs, charcoal, that kind of thing. And most people generally have a smaller selection of utensils, so they can go in a few drawers. You don't tend to need quite as much as you do as you have in the inside. And then here's kind of rule of thumb. This is a little bit OTT. This is kind of like guideline recommendations, but again, we're going back to that mini size. You need at least 0.5 metre of storage. That's a linear frontage of storage space. I tend to not follow this anymore. It's kind of more, you just get a feel for it. But small size 90 centimetre, medium 1.8, large size 2.5. Just sends you to sleep, that stuff. Okay. Seating space. Widths for seats are also an important part of the equation when designing your layout. You'll also need to allow appropriate room for guests, traffic, manoeuvring around and behind seats, and you also need to work out knee space when designing table bars and counters. So yeah, again, it's fact finding as well, because quite often the clients will go and find their own furniture as well. So you need to just find out what they're looking to use in their bars or seating areas. So here again, rule of thumb, you need to create your traffic clearance if you've got a seating area, because you've got to allow for the chair to be pulled out and pushed back in. Quite often overlooked, you'd be surprised. And you want to allow around 80 centimetres behind the seats. For people to edge past, 92. For people to walk past unobstructed, 1.2. So you can see increase the space to give people a good flow through. And again, this is table heights. It all varies, but again, you want to give at least 45 centimetres for knees, and counter level at 90 centimetres. Or for a full bar height, you need to give at least 30 centimetre knee space on top of that. So yeah, this all varies. Again, go back to the furniture that they've got or what you're planning to do, and then allow extra to get your legs under. You'd be surprised the amount of people who forget that. So that is the end of the functional layout plans module.